welcome back to another episode of Spincast. Today, we're diving back into the great world of high school esports. Joining us is Mario Morales. He's the esports coach at FRUITA Monument High School in Colorado. So without further ado, Mario, go ahead, introduce yourself. Take us a little bit back in time. Tell us where those passions were sparked in esports and gaming. What really kind of drove you, what really interested you in the space, and kind of how that took you down your path to becoming an esports coach for a high school.
So I've been basically playing video games my whole life. I had a Nintendo when I was 6 or 7, playing Super Mario Brothers. And then early in middle school, I went over to a friend's house and he had StarCraft, and just sort of fell in love with that and started playing custom maps that went into Warcraft 3, which is the Dota scene where Dota sort of started out. And then as soon as I heard about League of Legends, forget it. League of Legends came from a lot of the original creators of Dota, and I've been playing League for 10 years straight, basically since it came out.
Yeah.
I followed the competitive scene since then, and that's been where my heart has been for the last 10, 11 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, leagues that the icon of esports, right? It's everywhere. It's so prevalent. It is the biggest esport, especially here in America. But kind of going, more into the high school program now. My first question is, tell me a little bit about your League of Legends team. I read in your bio that you've been pretty successful, competed nationally, internationally, and whatnot. So take me through kind of what your program looks like, and what that team looks like, just at its, very snapshot core level.
So when we started out, we couldn't find any local leagues. Our local high school sports association wasn't really doing anything with esports, so we jumped into national programs. We kind of did middling, won some games, lost some games. Some seasons were good, some seasons not so good. But last year, our sports league started a pilot league for League of Legends and esports. And when we started competing locally, we started doing really good. We placed 4th in our overall season, and then we went into tournament play and got to 2nd or 3rd round. We're looking to repeat a little bit. The club just kind of started out with people that talked to me about League and loved League and said, hey, can we do a club? Hey, can we start playing competitively? Hey, look, there's this national league. It just sort of grew organically with people that were passionate about the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, once you build that platform for esports, it's just the students kind of take it away. I've done a number of these podcasts a lot with high schools, and once that platform exists and it's kind of like normalized, right? Because there's still like that little bit of stereotype of like, is this nerdy? Is it going to make me a loser? Not so much now, but that's, I think, what we all experienced when we were younger. But, quickly overcoming that stereotype and be like, wow, this is a platform/club/program that's full of people that I interact with really easily. They're all like-minded and they all have the same passions. Well, that just like checks off the box. Like, yes, let's just know this from every single avenue we can. So
yeah, the community just explodes. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And that sense of community, I think, is so needed. And that kind of brings me to my next question is, take me through what that community looks like a little more closely, at your high school within esports. Obviously I think it's a great basis for a lot of these kids to kind of expand, their relationships and their like network, so to say. So take me through, your experiences in expanding that community and anything that stands out in particular to you.
So it just sort of started out just people who wanted to play League of Legends after school, people who liked video games and, just needed an environment to be after school, wanted to be involved with their school, but didn't really like sports or didn't think they were academic enough to really do those sorts of programs, honor society, or, math competitions or anything. They just wanted to be a part of a community. So it very quickly grew into this club where people who would have never met each other became friends.
Yep.
It just sort of grew and grew from there. This year, unfortunately, just with everything going on, pandemic on and everything, our club is much smaller. We've got a lot of members that are online at home that still tap into our club, but we've had 30 plus people in the club before. We'll do lock-ins where we watch League World Finals live, whether it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., we'll get it on the projector. We'll spend the night in the library. People will order tons of food and, we'll scream and shout and yell as NA doesn't do so good again. But it's just a place for people who love video games and just want that kind of group, want to be around people that enjoy that stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, you hit it right in the head there. It's just once you find that group that you kind of just click with, right, all of a sudden the sky's the limit, right? And a lot of students, the data kind of shows and all the experiences really show that, hey, these students that love esports, that are passionate in gaming, are like actively developing skills and communications and all that kind of great stuff. But they don't have a place to really do it yet because
Yep.
esports programs aren't fully fleshed out. They're not in every high school, but when they do exist, then you see all these great things come to be. So absolutely great there. My next question is focusing more on like a day-to-day of the practice, right? What does practice look like for your team? What do you focus on? How do you, get the students to continuously improve so, you can continue to be successful and win championships?
Um, League is both a mechanical and a mindset kind of game. You can have all this crazy mechanical skill. You can be, solo one-trick pony Yasuo player and just be terrible for your team. We've all seen it. We've seen the M7 Yasuo with a million mastery and just feeds and flames everybody. So my role as coach really is just these two different avenues. Mechanical skill, so things like you walk in the door, you sit down, you do your 10-minute CS practice, you pull up some videos of builds or warding placement, and it's mindset. Once we get into a team game, what are the call outs? What are we talking about? Are we being overcritical of our teammates' play? Are we calling out their mistakes when League is so good about calling out your mistake because your screen goes gray,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you make a mistake, the game is very clear that you did something wrong.
Yep.
You don't need your team saying, hey, you messed up.
Yep.
So really sort of breaking that kind of mindset of everyone else doing wrong, I'm right, and more, what can we do as a team to pull this game out of the gutter is hugely important. So yeah, it's both communication skill as well as fundamental, like a basketball coach. Can you dribble? Like, sure, you can dunk and you can alley-oop and all this stuff, but do you know how to lane for 15 minutes? What if you're under tower against a Caitlyn and a Brand? Do you know what you're supposed to do? How do you survive that so they don't run away with the game? A lot of my job is things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you hit on that really interesting duality of like the in-game skills and kind of like the outside the game / inside the game skills. And, the mechanics obviously very inside the game, very specific to whatever game you're playing. But then that mentality, right? That kind of transcends the game itself too, right? Across, not only across games, but like in every application, right? Your schoolwork, your classwork, college, a job, right? And any other really relationships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You go on for days of, having that right mentality in your approach to anything. And that's so important. I think that esports really provides that basis. So, I'd love, if you have a particular experience that you really saw, one of your players like, wow, they mastered that mentality mindset that you really saw some kind of great improvement for the students. If there's anything that comes to mind that you'd like to talk or expand on.
Yeah. Last year, our ADC was renowned for stepping up. As in, he would go in first and get engaged on and die and do 0 damage in the team fight. And he had all this great mechanical skill. This is my Yasuo one trick that we trained to an ADC. All the great mechanical skill, all this game knowledge. But when it came to team fights, he was just stepping up. He was just stepping in the way and getting himself taken down. And what needed to happen was he needed to trust his classmates, his peers, his team. He just didn't trust them. And once we sort of got a good relationship going with them, he suddenly started performing very well. I think he was 9th in the state of overall, 700, 800 plus players for his KDA ratio by the end of the season. So he absolutely figured that out. And it was a really cool, sort of success for him to be able to trust the people around him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important. And I think once there's these concrete platforms and programs and clubs and teams built out everywhere, we're going to see so much more of that. And that's so important because, like we were talking about earlier, a lot of these students lose out because they're not interested in football or basketball or baseball or band or, honor society. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like we need to be able to provide the platform that they are interested in, right? To give them that ability
Absolutely.
to grow. And I think that's kind of our responsibility as an educator, administrator, an outside party. We need to be able to allow the kids to grow their skills in whatever way.
Because they're
Yeah.
They're just hungry for those, right? Like they're looking for them. And if there was an esports program when I was in high school, I wouldn't have gone home at 3 every single day. I would have been involved in my school. And that's exactly what I'm seeing is people they genuinely want to hang around if there's something they're interested in. And having an esports program definitely taps into that 100%.
Exactly. I think it's just that engagement factor, right? That the minute, like you said, they're interested in something, then you can't get them to leave school, right? Mom and dad's like, hey,
Yeah.
it's time to
Yeah.
go home. You got to go to eat dinner. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, I want to play one more game. You know, we're having a great time. We're practicing, we're whatnot. Or maybe just talking with people that are their friends and, you know, part of the team or club. Then all of a sudden your mom and dad's like, wow, you know, this is actually pretty awesome. So absolutely agree there. And that's phenomenal. You did bring up kind of that one player, you know, being so highly ranked in the state. So I'd be interested for you to kind of talk about what other state competitions that you compete in. And off of that, as a secondary question is also what changes when you're heading into a competition day, right? Are there any focuses that changes from like a typical just kind of we're grinding the game, we're getting better versus like, hey, we have a championship or a tournament on Saturday. But take me through, you know, where do you play, how do you play, and then also what changes on that competitive side when those matches coming up.
So mindset is just like the absolute thing that we focus on. In days that we're grinding, we're playing. I'm watching over their shoulder. I'm walking around. Sometimes I'll even make calls just to familiarize them, like what is useful information. So I'll step in a little bit here and there. And those are sort of average practice days. Game day is very different. Practice days are stressful. Game day is, hey, double check your builds, make sure your runes are good, jump into an ARAM with everybody and just go ham. Just like enjoy this game that you love. I've had a number of players over the last 3 years that's just sort of, I can't play anymore. They just got too stressed out. It didn't stay fun. And just reminding them that, you're here because you love this game. So let's do the fun thing. So you would be forgiven if you came to a practice day on a game day and saw them playing ARAM and went, that team's not going to win. What are they doing? This isn't useful practice, but it's about being with your team and having fun with your team and just being in the right headspace to do a competitive match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great point there. And it kind of circles back what I always say is that balance, right? Of, weighing the inside mechanics. Like on game day, right? If you haven't mastered a particular character or particular builds or, a particular mechanic in League of Legends or any other game, like you're not going to master it in the next hour, right? Like you're already not theirs, but, completely working as a team, as a unit is going to set you up for success. And, being laid back, making sure the nerves aren't on edge, making sure you're relaxed, and then you're just all operating that same kind of mind space. I think that's going to set you up way more for success. And you see it all the time in any other competition, right? Like football, like you don't practice before you play. Like most of the time you get a team meal, you might stretch a little bit, right? Warm up, like, play a game that's close to League of Legends or close to Rocket League, but it's more about just warming up your hands, talking, getting in the right mindset, getting comms down. Same thing in any other competition, right? It's just you have a team meal, you sit down, you go for a light jog, you do some stretches, and you're in that right space, right? So when it's game time, it clicks on, and you go and kind of show everyone your skills and compete to the highest ability. Absolutely.
Which is exactly what you were saying, right? Like there is this community for competition, and kids are hungry for it and they want it. And football wasn't their thing, soccer wasn't their thing, baseball wasn't their thing, but that team building and that communication and that measuring up against another team is something people look for. So there being so much overlap between competitive, physical sports and esports. I mean, I think it goes a long way to show that, hey, this is building a same skill set, a same valuable skill set.
Exactly. And I think, that pushback or negative stereotypes that we see in mainstream media or from, people that just don't understand esports, it's not true. Look at the data, look at the studies, look at the medical studies that the violence is not a non-factor, right? It really doesn't affect anybody by any means. But you look at all the positive growth that all the students get out of it. They have that sense of community. They can grow communication skills. They can problem solve and think critically in real time under high stress, and then also succeed or learn how to overcome from adversity. That's all the core skills that like every single parent, administrator, teacher, whatnot wants kids to develop, right? Because that's what employers look like, right? That's what colleges look for, so that when you go to that next step, to the next level, you're already ready for success because you have those core skills, which is so important. So absolutely great to hear there. Love to see that, that's kind of where you're already thinking too, because I love to see that, across any kind of coach or anybody. It's so important for growing the students. So
I remind my team a lot that, winning is great, but losing says a lot about you. The way you lose, how you lose, and that applies everywhere, right? Like, how do you respond to high stress situation? I mean, you're in a game and you're down 20 kills. Can you get back in? How do you get back in? You work through the problem, and whether you succeed or not, you will grow from a loss tremendously more than a win.
Yep.
I try and remind my players of that all the time, which is just a life skill for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, a lot of the times, a lot of people don't care, like, if you fail, they care how you fail, right? Like you said, you
Yes.
go down
Yes.
20 kills, or you go down 3 or 4 touchdowns or goals or whatnot. And do you come back, right? Do you keep trying? Do you keep going 100%? And also, how do you come back the next match day, right? Do you go home?
Yep.
Do you review, like, hey, where did I mess up, right? How can I be better? Get with your teammates, give each other constructive criticism. If you check those boxes off, those people that are watching you for whatever reason, whether it's recruitment or a job or that just going to the next level, they're gonna be like, yeah, I want that person, right? I want to hire that person. I'm gonna give that person a scholarship because I want those skills, on my team, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
unfortunately, we are running out of time. A lot of great discussion points. I know it goes so fast.
It's too short, man. You got to make the show longer.
I know. That's the plan. That's the plan. We're gonna have we're gonna extend it into panel discussions and have a good hour, maybe 90 minutes, and have a good group discussion with people that are very like-minded. But this is the mini series. That's how we did. That's how it is. And trust me, you're on that list.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's all good. We're good. But I will leave you with one last question, and this is a very holistic, comprehensive question. I always ask everybody, this is my last question, is looking at esports as a whole, right, at all levels across the entire world. Obviously, it's growing so fast. It's already so big, but it's not quite where where NFL is or where soccer is.
Close.
It's getting there.
It's really
right?
close.
Viewership is there. But my question is kind of like that mainstream kind of mentality / attitude, right? Everyone knows what football is. Everyone would watch football, right? Everyone knows what soccer is. Everyone will watch soccer for the most part. I don't know if esports is quite there. So what do you think that one step that needs to be taken to really make it where like, hey, it's Saturday afternoon. I like League of Legends. I'm going to go turn it on. Where like right now, like, hey, it's Saturday afternoon, probably gonna go watch college football or college basketball, right, depending on the season. What do you think it is from that mainstream kind of average perspective where everyone wants to be involved in esports and wants to be actively contributing in one way or another?
I think it's the human element. Seeing Faker lose Worlds that one year and they cut to him just crying is one of the best advertisements for the game possible. Because that's the thing that people miss out on when they talk about esports in a negative way, is they talk about, oh, they're just playing video games, they're isolating themselves, they're not interacting with other human beings, they're just dealing with pixels. And if you cut to Worlds footage and you see the crowd, you see the team, you see the camaraderie, you see the devastation of losing a close match, like that is what's going to pull people in, is reminding everyone, these are kids, these are people, they're pursuing their passion. I think that is what's most key. Just like with football, you have your superstars. Just like with movies, you have your superstars. I think the human element is by far the most instrumental to growing it as the norm, as something that, hey, it's Saturday, I'm going to put the game on.
Yep, absolutely. I think that human element is so important. I think once it becomes more visible, like you said, everyone understands that, like, hey, this isn't just playing video games, right? If you just play something for fun, like, you're not going to cry when you lose, right? Maybe like,
right,
I lost. Maybe I would win next time. But like when you're actually into something, like, yes, you cry when you lose. You get super down, right? And then also you learn how to come back from it. And that's what esports it is at the professional level and all levels, high school, collegiate, and whatnot. And I think once more people realize that from that, more mainstream perspective, I think it will just be like, boom, that's kind of a tipping point. So absolutely agree there. But unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you, Mario, for taking the time to sit down with me. I can't wait to have you back on the show here shortly once, all of those future podcasts are kind of structured out and all that kind of, logistical stuff is figured out. But for now, go ahead, plug yourself, plug your program. Tell us where you can keep up to date with you or your program or your kids on social media or a website, et cetera, et cetera.
So my name is Mario Morales. I'm the esports coach here at FRUITA High School in Colorado. We play through Play Versus, which is a league that's established in multiple states. We're running a pilot league right now. We don't have a social media presence, but if you stay tapped into Play Versus, you might see us in a final round pretty soon here. So yeah, if you're looking out for us, that's where we'll be.
Absolutely. Everyone stay up to date with them because, I love to watch the success, follow the storylines, and really, see that success in the long term for your students and players. But to our viewers and listeners, thanks for staying the entire time. Stay healthy and stay happy out there. Still a pandemic going on. Make sure, just be careful, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and ultimately stay plugged in.